I suppose we're at a critical juncture for the industry. As somebody who supports greyhound owners and trainers and those who act in a very responsible way, we're at a crossroads for the industry, and the future of the industry is at stake. And I want to see this industry for those who participate in it and those who do everything appropriately and properly and look after the welfare of dogs. I'd like to see this industry be sustainable. I have 8 questions, Chair. My first questions are actually to the department. My second question is in relation, I'll line them up so you can prepare, is in relation to preferred analysis report. My third question in relation to organisational issues. My fourth question is in relation to the sales of Harris Cross and the consequences of that. My fifth question is in relation to catering. My sixth will be in relation to turnover versus running cost. My seventh question is in relation to Indicon, and my eighth question is in relation to financial matters, and particularly gate receipts. So my first question to the department, has the department full confidence in the running of this organisation? How often do you meet with? That's the first question. Second part of my question is, you might want to take a note. I'd like to be very specific. Full confidence. Second, how often do you meet with the board of Board Nagan and the chief executive? Did you meet to prepare for this meeting this week? When did you get a copy? When did anybody in the department, current or past, get a copy of preferred results report? And would you, as a, I'll leave it at that for the starters. They're the first three questions. Kevin.
Thank you, Chairman. Dealing with questions. Just starting off with the second part first. We met with the board of Board Nagan, the full board, this week on Monday. Minister of State Doyle was there with myself. The Secretary General attended for a short period of that meeting, and we discussed a very wide range of issues with the board, including preferred results, budgetary matters, welfare. They were all discussed. Sorry?
And this meeting?
At this meeting on the...
No, yeah. And this meeting? And the forthcoming meeting in front of the Public Accounts Committee?
Yes, it was mentioned. We meet in terms of governance. There's twice yearly liaison meetings taking place with Board Nagan. There have been regular meetings recently with Board Nagan at board level. There's been 5 meetings since the 20th of May. And the meetings have, Minister of State Doyle has attended 2 of them. The Secretary General has attended 2 of them as well. I've attended 4 of them.
And confidence?
With regard to the manner in which I've dealt with the board in the last 2 years, the reform agenda, the fact, as you correctly point out, they're at a critical juncture. Indicon is a vital part of what's going to happen going forward, and the way that they put welfare as a priority, yes, we would have confidence in the board.
Okay. The preferred results report, I asked, when did you find out about that?
That would have been at the end of May.
24th of May.
Correct. It was sent into the department. I personally didn't see it till the 5th of June. I was away on leave.
No problem. So nobody, past or present in the department, ever heard of this report? That's correct. Were you surprised that you didn't know about this report?
Well, I understand from the point of view, like Board Nagan commissioned a number of reports, and they did not accept this report. Okay. They rejected the report in late September 2017, or sorry, late December 2017.
But a report that cost 130,000 for the taxpayer, would you not think whether it was accepted or rejected, it should have been at least communicated to the department?
There's no doubt. I mean, it would have been useful if it had been communicated to the department, but I respect the right of the board to reject the report.
Okay, fine, but I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you do believe it should have been communicated to the department?
I mean, given what was in the report, yes, as I said, it would have been useful if the department...
Useful? Do you want to qualify that word, useful?
I mean, the problem that you have here is, I mean, there's been a number of reports in recent years. There's 3 in particular which have pointed the direction for Board na Gun. There's an original Intercon report, there's the Morris report on doping, and there's the Oireachtas report, which dealt with the future of Board na Gun. They've all pointed in a particular
Were
direction.
they all sent to the department?
They were.
And this one wasn't?
This one wasn't. But the direction of travel in all the reports is the need for a full, comprehensive traceability system.
Okay.
That's what's the main
There were
point.
14 meetings, or 15, I stand to be corrected if it was 15, I think it was 14 meetings between the department and the board of Board na Gun, between the time they got the report and the time that you found out about the report. And they never once mentioned it. And you're saying here today that they should have told you about the report. Now, I'm not finished. So, for me, as regards the relationship between any department and any state body that reports to that department, that is deeply worrying. That's not a question. That's a statement. It's absolutely shocking. And the fact that the department weren't told about it, if that doesn't set off alarm bells in your department, well, then there's certainly larger issues in the department. Would you consider, as a department, and I'm just putting this up, you can say yes or no, would you consider an audit of the receipts that have been taken through the Irish Greyhound Board at all the stadiums and the process by which that is done?
On what basis do you want to know it?
On the basis, I'm just asking you the question, would you ever consider, have you ever considered it?
I'd need to know the basis on which...
I'm just asking, have you ever considered it? I'm not asking for a basis.
No.
Okay. All right. On to Mr. Dollard. Sorry. The organisation, there's been a lot of organisational change. This is in your annual report. CEO is the same. CFO has changed. That's just a natural turnover. The Director of Total IT is the same. Mr. Peake, sorry, you've got 2 promotions, I understand. Well, you've now HR and your Deputy Chief Executive. Congratulations. So 2 more roles. The Director of Racing, Governance and Compliance, is that person in place anymore?
The position is still there. Obviously, I can't go into employee issues.
I'm not asking you to. I'm just asking you, is the person working day to day now?
No, the person is not in the organisation at the moment. I mean,
For how long?
We operate a variety of leave arrangements, and the person is officially on leave.
Okay, fine. I don't want the details. How long?
February 2017.
So that's 2.5 years, more or less. So the Director of Racing Governance and Compliance is vacant for 2.5 years. Well, not vacant, but it's not in position.
There isn't a person occupying the role.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know.
The function is being fulfilled.
Veterinary Director is the same, and the Director of Sales and Marketing, that person still in place?
No, we don't have one currently.
So that's vacant.
Yeah, I've taken responsibility for sales and marketing myself.
So 3 are, 1 has changed and 2 are vacant / okay. The preferred analysis report. So the report was dismissed by the board. Can you please supply the Public Accounts Committee with the 30 pages of this report that have not been provided yet, as soon as possible? There are 30 pages missing of this report, Chair, that haven't been publicly made available. So that's a request, please. Secondly, in relation to the commissioning of this report, were there any members of the executive team or board on any other boards with anybody who was an owner of Preferred Results Limited when this was either commissioned or agreed, signed off on, as regards the awarding of this contract?
Sorry.
That you're aware of. If you're not aware of anything, that's fine.
Yeah, I'll answer them all now, yeah.
This is just in relation to Preferred Results. And for a report, this is just a statement, but obviously you have great faith in this company because you give them a ringing endorsement. So this is a company that was employed, that's fine, no issue with the company at all. But there's a ringing endorsement of it. But yet by yourself, but yet you dismissed the report out of hand. So my two questions prior to that you might answer, and then I'll move on to my next question.
Okay, thanks, Deputy. To the Chair, I suppose the part of the report, the 30 pages of the report, is the organisation analysis which preferred results were commissioned to do. It contains a lot of personal information in terms of employees, their names, their roles. It contains a lot of information in terms of potential changing roles. It hasn't been discussed with employees. It hasn't been discussed with staff interests, and for that reason, we would see it as a confidential report and wouldn't propose to circulate it as it is. On the commissioning of the report,
sorry, you can supply that report redacted from sensitive information.
Yeah, and to the Chair.
And I presume you have supplied that report to those 30 pages to the department. The department, I presume, are not within the remit of it being redacted.
Yeah. To the Chair, the full
has it
report,
been provided to the department?
The full report has been provided to the department, and okay. Yes, the redacted approach probably will work, but it would be a very heavily redacted report because there is a lot of personal information in it. On the commissioning of the report, I am not aware of any links of any parties. It was commissioned before my time.
That's
fine. The report went through a full tender process on the e-tenders platform and was assessed in accordance with all tenders brought before the board, etc.
Okay.
And the third question about preferred results and my fate in the company, absolutely, and I stand over fully the letter that I issued. I have no issue with preferred results, but I think the report was based on less than solid evidence base because the evidence base doesn't exist.
In relation to your comments earlier with my esteemed colleague to the right, I think we're all watching a bit too much of the UK Parliament, but the sale of Harold's Cross in the future.
I'm only there in place compared to you, my friend.
I know Deputy Cassell's asked a number of questions. You said that you were not, I hadn't intended raising this, but you said you were not planning on an increase in the Irish Greyhound Racing Fund for the future. You did say that you hadn't planned on that.
Yeah, well, I don't think I said I was planning on an increase. I think
you weren't asking for one.
Yeah, we haven't asked one. But
okay, fair enough. That's accurate. I accept that that's accurate.
But our strategic plan is actually built on an increase in the Horse and Greyhound Fund over the coming years.
Can I ask as Chief Executive? That was exactly because I knew that. So in 2020 it's 18 million. 2021 it's 19 million. 2022 is 20 million. So you're not asking for one. But you're the Chief Executive of the organisation, but you're budgetary planning for one as part of your strategic plan. Let me just put that out there. I don't even want you to answer it. That's a conflict. Oh, sorry, I'll ask questions.
Yeah, I welcome answering it, yeah.
Well, I didn't ask you a question, so there's no point. For me, that is very, very strange. So you're not asking for an increase, but you're budgeting for one as part of your strategic plan. Right? There's no question there. I just want to leave that there.
So, Chair,
sorry. Yeah. You will have an opportunity to come back, but there isn't actually a question there. In relation to, Harold's Cross, the sale of it, there was 1.3 million in attendances in 2006 and a total of 50 million. The sales of Harold's Cross was meant to be the saviour of this industry. I won't take up time. Pat Creed at the time said it was a game changer. We were told it would create a sustainable future. In fairness to the chairman, Mr. Meany said similar things. He said there would be no plans to sell off any tracks as a consequence, etc., etc., etc. And now we know about Longford and Lifford, etc. So we've got poor marketing, high running costs of stadiums. We're hemorrhaging money. So on that basis, how can you put forward a sustainable future for this industry? The sale of Harold's Cross was meant to recalibrate this industry under the stewardship of the IGB. To all our analysis here, that is not happening. And do not come back to me and say the Indicon report, because you said the following, the Indicon report was actually going to be a blueprint for the future. The Indicon report, as commissioned, and I'd like to know how much it's cost, by the way, is not a blueprint for the future. The Indicon report is in relation to stadiums and future. And by the way, if it recommends closure, well, that will be an indictment on the board, since the sale of Harold's Cross was the saviour of it. So, where is the sustainability? Where is the sustainability of this industry under your stewardship since the sale of Harold's Cross, based on what was predicted, based on the figures being put forward, and where we are now?
Thanks, Deputy. To the Chair, just to answer a number of points. Just on the Horse and Greyhound Fund, I think what I said earlier is we haven't requested an increase because we are all conscious of the national budgetary parameters for 2020. That does not in any way change our strategic plan and the foundations on which it was built. But obviously one can only operate on the basis of the funding that's available. We certainly wouldn't rule out in future years, economic circumstances at national level being benign, that there would be an increase. The Deputy mentioned Lifford and Longford. Lifford and Longford are private tracks, and both made decisions not at the request or under the requirement of the Irish Greyhound Board to cease operations. I understand Longford intend resuming operations early next week, and they will continue to be fully supported by the Irish Greyhound Board. On the sustainable future of the industry, yes, and I think the previous Deputy would have referred to an interview I gave to the Irish Times. I think there has to be a rationalised industry. And again, I expect that the footprint will have to change, and we'll wait Indicon in that regard. But I also think our commercial model, and it is changing in relation to the early morning meetings, the growth of international tote and wagering, our commercial model will have to change as well.
Okay. The rationalisation is...
Sorry, just the final question.
Okay,
the Indicon report, that went through a tender process, and the tender sum is 142,500.
Okay, thank you for that.
VAT.
Thank you for that. You used the word rationalisation. It seems like the Indicon report, Chair, is a predetermined outcome, right? That's the first thing. In relation to, I repeat, the commissioning of this report in terms of reference in relation to Stadia is not a blueprint for the future. The blueprint for the future is actually your responsibility and your board's responsibility. And may I put on record, actually, Chair, the fact that I find it incredible that there wasn't one board member available or willing to come here today. Next set of questions. In relation to turnover versus running costs, if you look at the actual running costs of the organisation, which majoritarily is obviously relating to hiring people and all of that, it was 15.6% in 2005. It's 44.75% in 2017. And I would reckon that by 2018 it'll probably be 50%. Now, how in the name of God is that sustainable?
Thanks, Deputy. Just to respond to the comments, you're correct. Indicon have been asked to look at the industry footprint. So, yes, it is focused on Stadia.
I've read the terms of reference.
Yeah.
So let's not try and make it something that isn't.
No, and I'm not suggesting that it is, and I think hopefully they will come back with a recommendation of what the footprint should be. On the reference to board members, I received the invitation to attend the Public Accounts Committee, and as a statutory accounting officer, I was happy to accept that invitation. I'm not aware that the board members received any invitation, but I know that the chairman has attended other committees, and I've no doubt he'd be happy to attend if the committee required him to attend. You know.
The chairperson wasn't specifically invited.
But in general, a board member always turns up. Well, a lot of the time. Anyway,
yeah,
doesn't matter.
fine.
I'm sure they didn't want to be asked.
Just on the running costs, I mean, I don't have the figures in front of me, but
I have them. I'll give them to you.
yeah, no. But clearly, if you're maintaining an infrastructure of 16 stadia and you continue to maintain it when your attendances are reducing or your income is reducing, clearly the percentage of your running costs are
44.75% is not sustainable.
Yeah, and that's why I think a rationalisation is required.
You keep using the word rationalisation. I say predetermined outcome here to anyone watching, and trust me, there's a lot of people watching this. Okay, last couple of questions. In relation to the catering, there was a decision made, and maybe Mr. Peake, and I don't want to mispronounce your name, there was a decision made in 2015 to take over the catering, which actually was making a profit. It was outsourced and was making a profit. It was brought in-house. And it's been making considerable... you might tell me, what's the name of the...
Abergrove Limited.
Okay, Abergrove Limited. So it lost 478k in 2017, 332k in 2016. So obviously it's going... I mean, what is going on here?
Okay.
I mean, what is going on as regards the scale of losses? Was it, if you had your time again, would you have made that decision? No, sorry, sorry. With all due respect, I've asked Mr. Peake.
As counting officer, maybe I could respond first, Chairman, and ask.
Well, I've asked Mr. Peake. You can come in after him. Fairness. Okay, Mr. Peake.
The other members are indicating.
Yeah, I've only one last question after this.
Thanks for the question, Deputy. Through the Chair, just in terms of the actual figures you've quoted in terms of Abergrove Limited, it's responsible for two parts of the operation, Newbridge track operations, which was one part, and then the food and beverage operations, which is the second part. Track operations in Newbridge for that period lost 81,000, and then in terms of the subsidiary accounts, the catering operation lost 397,000. But I suppose it's worth noting that profit from catering operations for 2017 was actually 413,000, and then there's an intercompany transaction in terms of concession fees, or in the form of concession fees, which is paid, which is 810,000. So it's an intercompany transaction, but the actual profit from catering operations for the period 2017 was 413,000, and subsequently in 2018 that figure grew to 545,000.
So it's making a substantial profit, is what you're saying.
Correct.
So basically, once you take out the other transfer, and how does that compare to its previous when it was under the old model?
The operations as it was.
So if you were to correlate the old model with the new model, with the transfer taken into account, how would those figures look?
It's very hard to compare because.
Well, will you do an analysis for us for 2013, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, based on this correlation that we've just spoken about, and send it into the committee? I would find that very interesting. Thank you.
If I could just make one comment on that. I mean, I think Philip has outlined that the intercompany transfers in many ways distort the accounts, but Abergrove and the food operation is delivering profits. And I would say that it's one of the elements of our business that consistently gets very high ratings in terms of the standard of the food.
Well, you might want to make that more transparent. It's nothing to do with.
That's
right.
Yeah.
My last question, in relation to gate receipts, and I don't know, is it Mr. Lewis or Mr. Dollard or whoever wants to answer this, is there's no full electronic readings at gate receipts at the stadiums?
No.
All right, that's just an observation, not a question. So there's a so basically at the point of sale, there's a manual entering then consequently of each racetrack, and it goes on up the system and is collated, I presume.
Yeah.
And that's 100% secure.
Yeah.
It's 100% secure.
No.
It's not 100% secure. No. So there are issues.
Yeah, and I'm happy to answer that question if you want to put the full question.
This is important, yeah. No, you can.
Yeah, I suppose like a lot of systems in the Irish Greyhound Board, because of the lack of finance and funding, there has been very little investment. We do have attendance data coming from a number of different sources, be it the restaurant, be it admissions, be it the trainers and the owners. There's a lot of manual intervention, and that obviously gives rise to human error at times. So we would like to,
always human error.
Yeah, well, we would like to significantly improve our systems. We did have the finance department look at the whole attendance regime. We do have a standard operating procedure, and our internal auditors, Mazars, also had a look at attendance, and there's a report.
So you're saying here today, in fairness, because obviously I've been to a lot of them, but you're saying here today that it needs to improve. That the process of the point of sale, how all of that information is collated, put in through the system and put up, is open to error, because a lot of it's manual.
Yeah, what I'm saying is our systems are far from perfect, but having said that, I have no reason.
How can we stand over the statistics as regards who's entering the tracks? Yeah. If you were saying this here today.
What I'm saying is our systems are far from perfect. You may have misclassification of groups, a tour group being counted as a benefit night or something like that, but there's nothing, given all the analysis we have done, to suggest that the attendance figures are significantly inaccurate or being misrepresented.
Okay, and there was no issues down in Kerry or anything like that?
That was a separate issue. It was an issue in relation to not the, well, I suppose the recording of attendances, but it was, let's just say, an income issue which was spotted by our management and was dealt with and has also been reported.
An income issue? So what's that mean?
What it means is that attendances were not reflective of what was there. It was identified by management and it has been dealt with.
So did I not set off alarm bells that your whole systems are
on foot of
open
that?
To...
Yeah. On foot of that, the Finance Department, as I mentioned, did a full audit of all attendance processes. And our internal auditors, who are externally sourced, also did a report.
Can I ask you a little bit of it? So for the last couple of years, if we write to you and ask for certain tracks, so anybody who ever enters a track obviously gets their race book right? So surely you know the amount of race books printed versus the amount of people who enter each track. Surely they have to match. Or could it be one or two here and there? So if we gave you a little exercise and asked, if we picked a few race tracks over a period of time, would you provide us with the information relating to the amount of booklets being produced versus the amount of patrons entering? And based on the information that we have discussed here today, Mr. Smyth, I repeat to you now, would you consider an audit of this whole process within the IGB, based on the evidence you've heard with your own ears today? Thank you. Thank you, Chair.